and regulating OTT platforms. Now, very recently, our government has brought in the OTT platforms under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Right. So we will look into this matter and we will explain what OTT platforms are. So OTT platforms are basically online platforms that curate a range of content and present it on a singular platform. So an example would be Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, or HBO Max, and all these things, all these applications, all these websites are an example of OTT platforms. So the OTT industry is also known as online content curated platforms. All right. So this platform, OTT platform, is distinguished from others such as Facebook, YouTube. So it is distinguished from these kind of user-generated content. How it is differentiated? Firstly, a fully curated content catalog is going to be there. It's going to show you what are the contents inside that application, and there will be a licensed. Now it is licensed and it is also owned by an individual provider. All right. This is not the case when it comes to the user-generated content. And similarly, a full mode of consumption is there where the consumer choose the content that they want to watch. Like if we are watching TV and all, we have to watch what the channel is broadcasting at that point of time, right? But in OTT platform case, so the consumers have the choice of what they are watching and what time that they are watching and what place they are watching, in which device that they are watching. So these options are given in OTT platforms. Also, technology-enabled solutions for content filtering and access controls is also going to be present. Now, what are the present regulatory frameworks that is in place to regulate OTT platform? So first of all, we have broadly Information Technology Act and Indian Penal Code, and also POCSO Act. Information Technology Act, IT Act 2000, has provisions relating to content on websites and informative websites that can be blocked. Now, any website can be blocked. That will include these OTT platforms too. All right. Under section 69A. So what are the grounds under which these websites can be blocked? So firstly, integrity of India, sovereignty, integrity, defense, security, friendly relation with foreign states, public order. So under these kind of grounds, these websites can be blocked. Apart from that, Indian Penal Code 1860 prohibits content against national integration, and also POCSO Act is prohibiting child pornography. So these are the existing regulatory framework that we have in place. Now, how did this government move OTT platforms under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting? So this is done under the jurisdiction, this is done by a notification that amends the Government of India Allocation of Business Rules 1961. By amending these rules, how did the government amend? By clause 3 of Article 77 of the Constitution. So under clause 3 of Article 77 of the Constitution, the President can make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business of Government of India and for the allocation among ministers of the said business. So by using this clause of Article 77 clause 3 of the Constitution, this rules has been amended through a notification. So that's how it has been done. Now, the notification also brought news and current affairs content on online platforms under the purview. So through this, what they are aiming is to prevent a spread of fake news and all. So earlier what used to be is that these OTT platforms and all used to come under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Okay, but remember, although OTT platforms have been moved to Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, user-generated content such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all is still going to remain under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. All right. Now, what are the arguments? So we'll look into the arguments for and against. First, what are the arguments against regulation of OTT platforms? Firstly, fear of a censorship regime. So some people have fear that whether this government is going to regulate everything that's going to be shown in the media, so a censorship regime is going to come abroad, and as a result the freedom of expression is going to be curtailed. So that is a certain concern. And then no need of additional regulations. Already we have in place a lot of regulations, as I mentioned before. IT Act is already there, IPC is already there. So why have again more regulations by moving it into another ministry and bringing more regulations? Next, freedom of to consume content. Yes, people should have freedom to consume the kind of content that they want. And then growth in Indian film industry. So in this case, we know that film industry is a huge industry, and many small producers and many small scale content creators find it very difficult to make into the film industry. But OTT platforms are going to provide them a better offer, a better chance at showing their content. Now, apart from this, they will have, they usually have a disadvantage when they are competing on world stage, so that will be solved. Now, vast amount of content. Now, the content on OTT platforms is originating from all across the world, and thus it is technologically not feasible to censor or block the content, because as it's coming from different countries, different places, it will be governed by different governments, right? So it is hard to create a common regulation for them. Now, what are the needs for regulating these OTT platforms? So, rapid growth in OTT industry. So, initially, now financial year 19 says it has reached 42.50 billion, and by financial year 25 it is expected to reach 237.86 billion. So, in this, especially in this pandemic period, a lot of people have been consuming their content from OTT platforms, right? So, it is growing exponentially, and hence regulation is required. This is one argument. Next, lack of oversight. While the Press Council of India is taking care of print media, right? And also News Broadcasters Association is going to take care of television. So similarly, the films are going to be looked by CBFC, that is Central Board of Film Certification. So they are going to look into monitor films, movies and all. So when they all are monitored, but OTT platforms are staying without any proper regulation. They are not under any oversight. So that is another argument. So also there is no specific law for content regulation on online services. So that is another argument. Now, receipt of several complaints. Several complaints have been received on the in the way that content is created. You might have seen recent in many news that people have protested against certain scenes in certain movies and all. So a lot of PILs have been filed. And then concerns regarding objectionable content. Now, without proper regulation, online platforms can be potentially used for spreading fake news, right? Fake news can be spread, and hate speech can be spread. So it might create problems. So in order to prevent that, we should have regulation for OTT platforms. Is this argument? And then parity in treatment of content. The film industry in India is being vocal about why they are only regulated under CPFC and why not OTT platforms have proper regulation. Now, way forward, what should we do? Now, there should be a model combining state censorship and self-regulation, when we should not, infringe on the creative freedom of content, but at the same time, we should protect the interest of the consumers. So, there should be a model combining state censorship and self-regulation without infringing upon the freedom of creation. Now, establishing global rating system. Different countries will be having different rating systems, R-rated movies. So like that, age limit would be different in different countries. So a proper global rating system is going to make it easy for these platforms to regulate their content. Now, independent mechanism for complaint redressal and formulating broad guidelines. Now, in this case, the government, another option is that the government can frame guidelines that cover principles laid out in statutes like the Information Technology Act, the Indian Penal Code, Indecent Representation of Women, and also the POCSO Act. So all these regulations, these laws, they can combine and give a guideline so that broad guidelines, the government can give such a guideline so that they can follow it. So these are the way in which we can tackle these issues by not infringing upon the freedom of content creators and artists, and at the same time not protecting the interest of the consumers. So I'll concluding with that. Thank you.